Hi, everybody. It's Anne Burns here, and I'm speaking to you from Sydney in Australia. Um, I've been told that this is a conference in Tokyo, and it sounds extremely interesting, especially the topic that you're discussing at this workshop, which is on creativity. Um, I wish I could actually be part of this discussion, but anyway, at least I can join in from this distance and give you a few thoughts to perhaps get the discussion going or get some ideas flowing. So here we go. I guess on the notion of creativity, one of the things that I've been really interested in for quite a long time is the idea of creative teachers and what teachers can do to be creative in the classroom. So it got me thinking about, well, what kind of attributes do teachers have when they are being creative teachers? And I think a central point here is that teachers who are creative are usually learning teachers. They're teachers who want to keep learning about their classroom. I don't see creativity as the big C creativity, which people often think about, where you've got to be a, above and beyond teacher in the classroom. You've got to be something exceptional or something out of the ordinary. So creativity for me isn't that sort of large C creativity. It's often the smaller C creativity, which is to do with how we can continue learning about being teachers. And I think that teachers who are being creative in their classrooms are often very interested in ambiguity or gaps. So one of the things that often sparks creativity for people, I think, who are creative teachers is that they perceive something which is ambiguous to them or not quite right in the way they think about how their classroom should operate. So often teachers who are creative, I think, are very open to a kind of unpredictability or increasing the way in which they can view the unpredictables in their classroom, knowing more about them and understanding more about the classroom as something unpredictable. And that's what I mean by learning teachers or teachers who are also learners. So I think teachers who are creative are also fully aware that there is no golden recipe to how we can operate in the classroom. There is no a best method about how we can go about things. So this means that we can be very much more open to experimentation. We can decide that one of the things that we want to develop in the classroom is an experimental attitude. And often we can see things in our teaching or gaps or chinks in our teaching which are not satisfying, which could be opened up for trial and error. So some kind of experimentation, some kind of moving ourselves beyond what we already do in teaching is also a very creative aspect or a creative attribute in my mind. So I think teachers who are creators or who are creative teachers in the classrooms are also, in some senses, resistors. They want to resist routine. They want to take the constraints or the opportunities of the situations that they work in, and they want to sort of manipulate them in some way to see what the best aspects of that situation could be. How can they turn it on its head, or how can they point it in another direction so that what they're doing in the classroom can be open to resistance to some kind of routine way of handling it all. I think creative teachers also really love a challenge. They actually thrive on something that isn't working well or something that they're not really satisfied with. So seeing something that will challenge their teaching, which will take you out of the routine nature of what we might do in the classroom, is also very important, I think, to creative teachers. So I think creative teachers are also have gone beyond just focusing on themselves in the classroom. And one of the things that they have learned or observed that they need to do is to be very, very learner focused. And I know we talk a lot about learner-centered teaching, but I think creative teachers are truly ones who want to take their learners as far forward as they possibly can. And also they want to understand their learners at a greater depth than they may have done up to that point. So for me, a creative teacher is one who sees the classroom as an exciting laboratory where they can resist, they can challenge, they can look at things in a new way, they can experiment, and they can create their own form of methodology, which is they know is going to be the most productive way that they can work with their students. As quite a number of you in the audience might know, I'm a great advocate for action research. So for me, the idea of experimentation is linked very much to that concept of doing action research in the classroom. And I think creativity and action research blend very, very nicely together. So doing action research, as some of you might know, is a process of planning something, and usually the plans arise because we've already perceived something that we're not happy about, something that we're not convinced is the best way that we could operate in the classroom. That then takes us on into some kind of action, and that action could be a little bit out of the box. It doesn't necessarily need to be something that we've always done or which everybody else has always done. So for example, I once worked with a teacher who was quite convinced that translation, which is kind of not very popular these days, was a good idea. So he took this rather out of the box idea and turned it into something which worked very well in that particular classroom for the particular group of students that he had. And then the next point in action research is where we put our plans into action and then we observe what happens. So observation is really collecting some kind of evidence around what you're doing. And I think teachers who like to be learning teachers will want some kind of evidence of the way things are changing in their classroom. So they see teaching as problematizing and gathering information so that they can then have a basis on which to draw conclusions about how things are working. And all of this is also accompanied by a great deal of reflection, because every time we start to think about changing our plans, working with things that are not happening in a straightforward way in the classroom, we're really reflecting quite deeply on how things might operate more creatively for us. So that's a very, very quick overview, really, of some of the things that have gone through my mind for not for a number of years, I guess, and ways that I'm now thinking about the notion of creativity. One of the things that I am particularly like about the idea of creativity in the classroom is that I think creativity helps us to also create sustainability, because if we're finding out more about new and innovative ways to operate in the classroom, we're providing some kind of sustainable development of not only our own professional development, but the best way that we can help our students to learn in the classroom. So sustainability, creativity, and innovation, for me, these are three key ideas which are going to make a difference to whether classrooms are going to operate effectively or whether we are going to see disappointing outcomes for our students. So creativity, I think, is going to take us very far forward in learning new ways to do to operate in our classrooms in the world of ELT. I might stop there. That might give you some food for thought, and I would love to be part of the discussions and perhaps some of these ideas can come back to me, so that you can help me take my own ideas about creativity further forward. So good luck, everybody, and have a wonderful conference. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Anne.